Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Tom Banshoff. I serve as Vice President for Global Engagement here at Georgetown and also as Director of our Berkeley Center for Religion, Peace, and World Affairs, one of the hosts of today's event. On behalf of our President, John J. DeGioia, and our entire university community, I'm really delighted to welcome you to a roundtable with innovative and formidable leaders of the Church in Africa, participants in the Women in Faith Leadership Fellowship Program, and partners in building a more just future and stronger ties of global solidarity. Now, the Fellows Program, which you'll be hearing about, is in its inaugural year. It's a creative and ambitious effort to build skills and broaden the experience for a cohort of Catholic sisters across the African continent, giving you, the opportunity to interact with scholars and practitioners, to reflect on your mission, and to develop knowledge and tools that will help you grow as the impactful leaders that you already are within your communities. Your 2 weeks in Washington and here at Georgetown are part of a year-long fellowship that also includes intensive interactions in Rome, Rwanda, in New York, at the UN, and probably many other places as well. Before we begin, I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize two vital partners who, through their generosity and vision, have made the Women in Faith Leadership Fellowship possible: the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Conrad N. Hilton Foundation. There are many others to recognize as well. The curriculum and the experiences at the heart of the fellowship program here in DC have grown out of a deep and wide collaboration. I especially want to thank my colleagues Louisa Boyarsky from the Georgetown Nonprofit Leadership Center and Catherine Marshall of our Berkeley Center, as well as Gabrielle Matlock, Kirsten Muth, and Olivia Wilkinson from the Joint Learning Initiative on Faith and Local Communities. They, together with the staff, many who are also here with us, have really put together a superb program for the fellows over the course of 2 weeks, including visits to the U.S. Institute of Peace, to CARA, to the World Bank, to USAID, and Catholic Relief Services. Now, I think we can all agree that this fellowship program is vitally important. It's a great initiative at a critical moment for Africa, the world, and for the Church. Needless to say, the Catholic Church has been slow, historically, and even today, I would say, miserably slow, in recognizing, supporting, and cultivating the talent of women leaders, both lay women and sisters. There's so much work to be done, given the nature of the development, health, education, environment, refugee, gender justice, and other challenges that we face in Africa and around the world. Challenges you're already engaged in, are grappling with, and will continue to address into the future. We're inspired by your work and look forward to hearing more about it this afternoon, with the special focuses on the challenges of education. We're especially fortunate to be joined by our moderator, Sister Jane Wakayu, well known to most of us here as an inspirational partner and leader. Sister Jane is a member of the Institute of the Little Sisters of St. Francis in Kenya, and in her leadership role within the Hilton Foundation, she oversees the planning, development, implementation, and evaluation of the Foundation's Pathbreaking Catholic Sisters Initiative. Sister Jane, we at Georgetown are grateful for this partnership, and we look forward to the conversation. So please join me in welcoming Sister Jane and our fellows.
Thank you very much, team, and thank you everyone for being here this evening. So as we hold this conversation with these women leaders in their own right at a grassroots level in Africa, they've been working silently, accompanying people, accompanying girls, and today they're going to be sharing with us how that experience has been. We have Sister Hedwig, we have Sister Josephine, Sister Gozi, and Sister Rosemary, all representing the 10 who are here from 4 countries, but we have 5 countries. So without further ado, I would like to invite you sisters. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in your ministry. I will begin to my left, Sister Rosemary.
Thank you so much, Sister Jane, and thanks to everybody who has come this evening to listen to us. I'm called Sister Rosemary Nyirumbe, and my work is focused around empowering girls who dropped out of school for some reasons. It started all with the conflict of the Lord's Resistance Army. I started in 2003 to address the needs of these girls, empowering them with skills. Thank you.
Sister Ngozi.
Good evening to you all. I must tell you I'm very, very delighted to be here. I am Sister Ngozi Frances Uti, but I prefer to be called Ngozi, which means blessing because of the circumstances of my birth. You know, in my country, most children are named according to the circumstances surrounding their birth. So my name is Blessing in English translated. And I belong to the Congregation of the Handmaids of the Holy Child Jesus, founded in Nigeria, the first indigenous congregation in West Africa. And it was founded by then Irish Sisters of Charity, now Religious Sisters of Charity. I work now presently for an initiative by my congregation, Center for Women's Studies and Intervention, that actually works for the empowerment of women and girls and the elimination of violence against women and all that dehumanizes women and girls. Thank you.
Thank you. Josephine.
Good evening to you all. My name is Josephine Jemfi Apieje. I come from Ghana. I'm a sister of St. Louis, and I'm a teacher by profession. I started off with training teachers for the basic schools, that is children from 3 years to 15 years. But now I run and manage a basic school myself. So I have shifted from training teachers for the schools to managing a school. Education is highly important. We know that it's the first step to enlightening minds and therefore promoting social cohesion. So I'm very happy to be in this ministry, and I'm happy to be meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you. Edwig.
Thank you, Sister Jen, and everyone present. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Sister Hedwig Muse. I work at the Association of Sisters of Kenya. My congregation is the Little Sisters of Mary Immaculate of Gulu. Gulu is a northern part of Uganda, where my congregation was founded. At the association, I work as a legal officer. I'm a lawyer by training and also a teacher, high school teacher by training. So that I work with the Human Rights Program Office, where I work with all the schools in all the Catholic dioceses in Kenya. But these schools are both for Catholic and then for other religions. So in those schools, we work with a group of teachers we call Human Rights, supporting especially girls to be able to have the right to study. And besides that, I also coordinate the activities of the sisters in Kenya in the different dioceses. And then on behalf of the association, I coordinate the project on active nonviolence peace building with Pax Christi in partnership with the National Conference of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you all, and for providing just a briefly about your work. But I would like us to delve a little bit deeper. Sister Rosemary, you've said that you've told us that you work with the girls who returned, from the Lord's Resistance Army. Tell us why do you think it's important the work you do, and where do you get the energy to do it for the women?
I will start with the last one. I don't know where I get the energy from, but I always make fun. I say I get my energy from prayer and a cup of coffee. And I keep on going. I started focusing attention on the girls who were abducted by the rebels, just because these girls were deeply traumatized, trained as child soldiers, They were used as sex slaves, and after they escape from captivity, they come home and find the society doesn't accept them. And so these girls do not really know where to put their heads or where to turn, to who they can turn. And so I started building my work, not because I wanted them to be completely educated, because I knew many were not educated and they lost their chances of education, but I decided to dive into practical skills. And in this way, it was a way of giving them rehabilitation, mending their brokenness, and as such, we always emphasize the question of sowing hope, using the needle. And I always say this is an analogy, because these girls were trained to destroy life with the machine guns. So we are using sewing machines to help them mend their own brokenness and also mend the society. And that's why my focus is so much on these girls. And so it has become like congregation charism. I started it like crazy. We were only 3, and I didn't know where to start from or what to do, no curriculum, but we developed. And up to now, we keep on expanding what we are doing all around skills training, rehabilitation, mother and child education.
Thank you, Rosemary, and for the work that you do, mending life for these girls. They are becoming women who are contributing to the vibrancy of the society. Let me come to you, Sister Josephine. You started as a training teacher, and now you are in school and managing a school. What do you see as the importance of educating girl child, particularly in Ghana, where you come from, and what are the issues girls are facing?
Thank you very much for that question. It's highly important. Our first president said, if you educate a girl, you educate a whole nation, because the girl child becomes the fabric of the family. So it's very important that they get education to instill some self-confidence in themselves, gain some skills by which they can train their own children and the whole family. So it's hugely important to train the girl child. I come from a culture that is matrilineal. So the girl child has so much power in the house, in the home. They're so listened to. The kings cannot be made without the woman's voice. So to have a trained voice is very important. So that gives me energy to go ahead to do what I do.
Do you experience some girls dropping out of school in Ghana?
It used to be that if they got pregnant along the way, they dropped out of school. But these days, there have been strategies put in place to bring them back so that they are not so stigmatized and they can return to school. And most of the times, the Catholic schools had an alliance. Like my school is a St. Louis school. There's a Holy Child school. If a girl got pregnant in a St. Louis school, after delivering, we will transfer her to a Holy Child school, and they'll take care, and vice versa. So that cushioned them and allowed them to continue the education.
Thank you for bringing even those who in some way are put in family way back to school so that they can continue. Let me go to you, Sister Hedwig. You are a lawyer and you work on civil rights and rights of women, rights of girls, in whether it's on human trafficking. Tell us a little more. What are types of issues you are dealing with, when you see girls out of school, or the issues that the girls are facing in Kenya?
Thank you very much, Sister Jane. Now, unlike my sister here from Ghana, Kenya is a community that is patriarchal, whereby we found that women are subordinated. And there are so many issues, especially among the pastoral communities in some of the regions in Kenya, where we have a retrogressive culture, where girls are arranged for marriage when they're still very young. And we have had especially cases of forced marriage, early marriages, because of culture. Now, me as a lawyer, we have really made effort, because as initially I said, we have schools where we have human rights program. And in these schools, we have teachers we call human rights teachers that are like our watchdogs on ground at the grassroots in Kenya in different dioceses. So we have handled issues of child neglect especially, and also forced marriages and early marriages, where we have been able to rescue the girls. And with the support that we get from funders like Hilton, we've been able to help these girls go back to schools. Some of them could not catch up with the formal education in schools, so we take them for vocational trainings so they're able to get skills and at the end be self-sustaining in their families and as individuals. Then also there are so many cases of gender-based violence, domestic violence that affect the girl child, who in most cases they're left to do house chores while boys go to school. And one of the reasons that in Kenya, especially in the pastoralist communities, they'll want girls to be married off. So they bring in wealth to help the boys remain in school, unfortunately. So these are some of the issues that we've been working on.
Thank you for highlighting that. It's a cultural issues that really have to be dealt with, particularly in some of the communities where girls are still experiencing so many barriers to education. Let's turn to you, Sister Ngozi. You have been an advocate of women empowerment in Nigeria. And you have faced, sometimes you have engaged even with the law to help create a pathway for women. Tell us some of the issues the women in Nigeria are facing and how you have worked through your way to help them or to accompany them.
Thank you very much. You know, one of the one of the scriptural texts that we use at the center is John 10:10. I have come so that they may have life and have it to the full. And where you live, when you live in a society where one half of the society is marginalized, then you know that they are not living life to the full. And that's not just within the society, even in the church, it is also there. We have to face the realities of these things. But what happens is that women, culturally, not across the country, Nigeria is a very diverse nation. We have different cultures. For example, in some parts of Nigeria, the issue of disinheritance is very strong, where either if a woman has no male child, then at the death of her husband, she loses everything, everything. Because even when when the man has written a will, she loses everything. But there are also in some parts of the country where it is not like that, where if a man has 10 children and the first 9 are girls and the youngest is the boy, then they will begin to share their father's inheritance according to in seniority order. So those are challenges. So in working with women, you don't really say, this is what happens. We can't generalize. We take them at regional levels, because what happens in one region is not obtainable in the other. But basically, we try to dismantle unjust systems that dehumanize the woman and the girl child, cultural and religious practices. And at the political scene, you find out that when women are not at the table where decisions are made, you cannot hear their voice. Their voices are drowned. People take decisions for them. So what we do is, in that case, we try to educate them politically and encourage them. The last election, if I take the case of Kogi State, where we have really done a lot of work, we found out that there are at least 4 women who have made it to the House of Representatives, which is a plus. Before we started working, we've been working there for like 15 years, trying to empower the women, encourage them, getting the traditional leaders to include them in their cabinet, which was before a no-go area. So those are the challenges that we face in empowering women. And of course, the girls, if you begin to groom them young, teach them what to do, then they begin to understand. So in secondary schools, we have human rights clubs. We've established human rights clubs where we educate them on their rights as human beings, both men and women, because you cannot do it alone. You find out that if the men are left out of it, then the women cannot, because they really have little or no power. So what we do is train the form human rights clubs in the secondary schools, and then we have paralegals whom we have trained, men and women. And these paralegals are like the eyes, you know. They are also championing the cause of what we are doing. And it has worked out. So following that trend, we try to change some of the cultural practices that have been there over the years. They are not examples that I'll begin to share here, but I must say that in some of the states, we have really done a lot of work, because, and the people are grateful that some of those cultural practices, which they didn't really understand, you know, some of them just, most of the young ones, they grew up to meet those things. So when you ask them, they say, that is the way our foreparents did it, and so it must continue. So it's a question of educating them to change their mindset and to understand that these things no longer hold for us.
Thank you very much, Sister Ngozi. You have mentioned very important points about human rights and forming human rights clubs in school, so that to educate. You've talked about paralegal who are in the front line, and you also, the way, you know, shifting our culture, understanding or shifting the narrative to give a women opportunity to challenge the culture that we have brought in Africa. I want to hear from Sister Rosemary, and any of you can react to this. In your work with the girls, how are you helping them to begin not supporting them directly and providing for them education and connecting them to job is one thing, but they're gonna face the same culture that has really suppressed them in some way. The same in Ghana, or the same in Kenya. So talk a little bit about education as a human right, and how you are helping the women you are working with to take that as their own right and to begin shifting narratives for their own children.
Actually, when I started with these girls, it was like giving them education for emergency, to let them get something that can give maybe a job and make them earn money in future. But beyond that, I had to think and say, what next? And what I've seen as a great challenge is really to move forward with the literacy. And the literacy is to be able to empower them in the society. So I am working and planning very much to let these girls embark on what I call learn and earn. So they need to get the skills, while at the same time they are paid for what they produce. And in this way, as soon as they go out, they are able to get jobs or create their own jobs, because we cannot allow them all the time to wait for jobs. I love to go to the market and find my girls have got a small shop where they're sewing clothes. And many times people will say, why are you emphasizing on sewing when there are a lot of second-hand clothes? And I say, there's no dignity in wearing second-hand clothes. There's more dignity in wearing something you create yourself. And also, Uganda is a society which is just very young, with so many growing children, and all these children need uniform. You need your own uniform. And who is making that? My students. The recent challenge was COVID-19. I was caught up here during that time, and then I decided to learn how to sew masks myself. I connected with them on Zoom. We started teaching some students. We sewed 5,000 masks. And the time of COVID was a moment for rolling up our sleeves. Taught them on Zoom how to make liquid soap. And all these masks were given to prisoners, were given to refugees, and the same with the liquid soap, because they could not access all these hand sanitizers and soap and so forth. So in a way, the education we are giving these girls is to empower them to become also contributing members in the society, even economically and socially, and to give them a voice and give them that sense of dignity where they can take care of their own children, not only taking care, but loving the children, especially children got from rebels or from sexual-based violence, at least bond them together. And I don't just give education to them, I make sure they come together with their children, and that has been a big challenge for me because people were saying, why are you bringing girls who are pregnant, girls who have children in a Catholic school? And I always push back by saying, do we want to grow flowers or we want to grow human beings? I am going to grow human beings. And those who are pushing, fortunately, men, I'm sorry, men are here. And I told them, I said, okay, let's divide our jobs. Parish priest, can you do your job? We shall meet there in church and pray. I'll do my job in school with these young women and their children. Thank you.
Thank you. Any response from Josephine or Hedwig?
Yes, thank you. We're talking about the girl child who's already in school. And what we try to do is to instill in them a sense of value in themselves as individuals and as people with strengths and talent and interest to be able to affect the world. We are trying to help them see that they have a contribution. They're a gift to the earth as much as the earth is a gift to them. So they have a contribution towards the earth, towards their society. And that's the self-confidence we try to instill in them, as well as giving them the skills for even detecting their own inner strengths and interests to do what they would like to do and what is best for them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to add on what my sister said, I totally agree with the two of them that there is need for change of mindset and transformation. Because if we talk to them and there is nothing that remains to remind them, then there will be no change. So what we do also, we empower these girls, and not only girls, even women, through, like women in those scenarios, we empower them with skills to be able to do productive activities that they can do and drive their energy positively to something that can generate income to sustain them. And for the girls, we even went as far as having the training manuals on human rights in schools with the teachers, because we meet them, we hear their voices through these human rights teachers in schools who go as far as looking for them, going after them in the villages. And then they let us know, we have this group of girls in Narok or in somewhere who are not able to go to school. Sometimes they're not able to go to school even when you give them money because also of hunger. They don't have this energy, they don't have food. So then we have to make sure that they're able to have the energy to go to school, as we have also supported them to study. And also the challenge of having the schools very far in some places make them also to lack the motivation to be able to utilize the opportunity given to them. So empowering them and giving them the skills, making them productive in society and being witnesses in their own communities, because now they're able to stand out and say, claim their spaces and support the generations, the girls, the women, to be able to know their rights and be able to claim their rights.
Thank you. Let's switch gears. All of you are very accomplished women who are working at the grassroots level, having 2 PhDs, having masters in education, 2 master's degrees, a lawyer who has several other degrees. Why do you think it is important to hear from Catholic sisters or women religious? And why do you think we should be investing in your work? Why do you think it is important to hear from you as women religious and to invest your work? And if you like, you can add how does your faith guide you in the work that you do as a Catholic sister? Let's start with you, Ngozi, please.
You see, the good thing about being a religious and understanding your faith, like I said, what we do is not just for Catholics. We work with anyone who is a woman and a girl. You know, in Nigeria, religion has been, politicians have made it like that is one of the problems we have in Nigeria, but that's really not true. Because when you work with women, even with the men, you find out that they respect you. I remember during the election before this, we were in one area and we were having a workshop. And one of the Muslims, a man who attended the workshop, the conscientization workshop we had for the men, said to us, "Oh, I hear you have a program for the women, but my wife has not told me that she's been invited. Can I ask her to come?" Because they trusted that we as Catholic nuns will always guide them. And you know, most of our politicians, most of the elite in the Nigerian society went to Catholic schools, both primary and secondary schools. They will tell you, most of them went to Catholic schools, and those schools were run by nuns. So what it is now is that our work is very important, but you know, most of the time, because we are women, our voices are not projected. And then we also have challenges. Because for me, if I go to a man or an organization, a male-led organization, and I'm requesting for money to empower a woman to know her rights as a woman and a mother, that man is not going to give me that money, because you're going to challenge the status quo. You are trying to take them away from what it is. As far as they are concerned, a woman must be subservient. And that becomes a big challenge in the society. So when you ask about why we think you should invest, that's the only reason you should invest in it. Because you know we are working, but we live in a society where we won't even get it. And there are all the male donor agencies that also make life difficult for women-led organizations. Even in the Catholic Church, you know, some Catholic agencies will require that you get a letter from the bishop before they can look at your proposal. And that becomes a big challenge. If you stay in a place where they still see that you're too independent, you must be working under the bishop or the priest, which is another challenge that we're facing now, where you find out that priests are now beginning to be hospital administrators, administrative officers in the schools, college administrators, just because they believe that over the years, the nuns have made it and people are respecting them, and they feel a bit threatened. And I don't think that should be, because when you look at the history of the church, you know that all the social aspects of social works of the church were started by women religious, and over the years, they have sustained it. So I think that we need organizations like the Hilton Foundation, and we thank the Conrad Hilton, who saw this long ago and decided to invest in the education and the work of women religious wherever they are. So I think that's why you should support the work we are doing, just to make sure that it's going. I'm not saying that men are not helping us. The men are there. And there are some who are very, very supportive, and will do anything to assist. But there is still that challenge, and there's still that gap.
Thank you very much for raising those really important concerns, that it's important we support Catholic sisters, not just because of what they do, but also they remain in those communities, whether there is funding or not, they don't leave. Whereas another NGO will come, and when there is no flow of funding, the NGO walks away. Sisters remain in those entrance spaces. Any contribution to you, Sister Rosemary?
I have a practical example. Right now, I did not introduce myself that I am a sister of the Sacred Heart, founded in South Sudan. And we're working in Uganda. We have always worked in the front line. And that's what Catholic sisters do. We have always been in the front line. We should actually be called frontline workers. This terminology should have been used for us a long time as Catholic sisters. I give example of what is happening in South Sudan right now, or in Sudan, as for that matter. I see, this morning I saw a big convoy of buses bringing Americans or other NGOs away. None of those buses has any of my sisters. My sisters have remained there. My sisters have been there from 1954. My sisters came to Uganda in 1964 as refugees. They flew with the refugees. They came with disadvantaged women, and they've remained there. So they have always been in that front line. So to see a group like Hilton and all other people, the partners, who are trying to amplify the work of the sisters, the voice of the sisters, I think that is very, very powerful. Because we have been working like underground, we are quiet. Also, our training itself has never empowered us to speak about what we do. We keep quiet, and maybe we don't have the platform. We are not exposed. And if we say these are women who are well exposed by education and so forth, we need to use our education, our status as a platform to go up and go down, to meet the people who have remained behind. We need to bring them forward. And that type of work of going down and working with the most neglected cannot be done by any other person except by Catholic sisters. I'm sure all of you can accept this. But if you don't accept this, you can see me later. We shall negotiate. We shall negotiate with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Rosemary. Certainly, see Sister Rosemary, she has more to share. What is the response from both Sister Josephine?
Yeah, I was going to say that we believe that every child is a gift of God, whether male or female. And our effort is towards the child, that gift, to nurture it. And whatever the case, we are there for them. Whatever we gain, I mean, all the degrees we have got and everything, it's never for ourselves. It is to be able to empower them. So we don't we don't work for economic gains. It's all to empower the children in our care, and we are always there.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sister Jane. I really agree with my colleagues. And the work of the sisters speaks for itself. The fruits that the sisters' work produce, we don't need even to talk about it. When I walk in the streets here, I meet people in America here, they tell me, oh, you are a Catholic nun. I was in a Catholic school, and it has helped me to be who I am. So that's one good reason. And then also, we the sisters are very much in touch with the community. We are there at the grassroots. We are with the people that we can easily, impact the community. And besides that, we have a very smooth transition. Today, I'm at the Association of Sisters of Kenya working. When it is time for me to get out or to retire, there is a very clear transition that Hilton will not say, Hedwig is not there, so we cannot give. But there is always someone coming, and work moves on. Then finally, most of us, if not all of us, our charisms really speak to the needs of the vulnerable in the communities. So that is a great motivation for us to serve humanity and to get your support for that matter.
Thank you. Let's go about our Catholic faith. Sisters are working in the margins, like Sister Rosemary has said, in South Sudan, where sometimes it's so difficult even to get out and get where the needs are, but go to the place you will find sisters staying there with the people. How does your faith help, ground you to do that work? And what could you advise us?
First of all, without faith, we would not have been there, because I would have chosen the path of any other woman, get maybe a big office or an employment and get enough salary. I don't have salary. If it was not because of faith, I would have married. But because of faith, I chose this as part of my vocation, and I remain there. I keep on working. I keep on empowering people. And I think faith plays a bigger part in all what sisters do. Because if I take the example of my congregation. You would wonder why there are still young girls joining this same congregation, where you see sisters are always living in a very difficult situation. Sometimes you have nothing to eat, you have nothing, maybe you don't know how to reach, you have to walk and so forth. But still, vocation is flourishing. We have like 10 girls or 15 girls every day joining. So I think, to me, that is a question of faith. And it is that faith that keeps guiding us and keeping us there.
Thank you. Gozi?
Well, if I didn't have the faith, maybe I would have left a long time. Because, yes, I would have left because there are certain things you see. I want to divert a little from the society and coming back home, because if we are talking about faith, it has to be grounded within the Catholic community. And if you look at it and look at some of the things that happen, you find out that sisters are the most neglected, women religious. I don't know what happens now here, but I know that after Vatican II, there were quite a lot of eye-opening situations that made the sisters begin to ask questions and to shift. But for us back home, you notice that we don't really know where we belong, because the bishops and the priests are there, the laity are there, the religious, especially women religious, are neither here nor there. You go to an occasion and you have my Lord Bishop, priests, deacons, seminarians, catechists, and my dear people of God. And what has happened to the female religious who are sitting there in their numbers? You know? So the church itself has not given us enough room to grow. We had a session, Kim, and that's something I want to throw back to you. No, you. Because you have access to the Vatican to tell them that we, as women religious from Africa, we would want that our presence, you know,
Yeah.
the poster down there says visibility. We need that visibility. We need to be recognized. We need to, otherwise, you know, it's something that discourages you. If you belong to a family where you don't feel that sense of belonging, the next thing is to begin to find ways of kind of being on your own, alienating yourself from the core. So faith, my faith is grounded in the Catholic Church. I'm following the footsteps of our Blessed Mother, who remained very, very unseen. I mean, Our Lady was very, very humble. We never heard her voice, even when she had to make her son perform the first miracle, and Jesus said to her, "Woman, what is that to you?" You know? But she knew what she wanted, and she knows that this is my role as a woman and the mother of the Redeemer. And so for us as women religious, our faith is really grounded, and that is the only thing that gives us the courage to keep moving on. For me, I'll say it, and I know that is also the thinking and the mindset of many of our other female religious who walk in these very difficult areas where people would not really want to go to.
Thank you, Sister Ngozi. Anything to add from Josephine and Sister Hedwig?
Yeah, even the response to this way of life is itself based in faith. We had to believe that our God has a purpose for us to respond to life this way. Having responded and staying is an emphasis on the faith that we have. So we live by faith.
And just to add on that, faith is the basic foundation in everything. And for us as religious, our vows, our consecration, our commitment, and our sacrifices, our apostolates, activities are rooted in the faith. Because without being moved with faith, we will not do much. We will remain at the basic. But the faith that God gives us gives us a very strong commitment to do all the activities that we are sharing with you today, to reach out, even when their superior tells you, I need you to go and serve in South Sudan, for example. That is a strong motivation and move for you to abide with your vow of obedience and move to go and serve humanity in any part of the world. So faith is the greatest pillar for us religious.
Yes, Rosemary?
I just want to add a little bit. Sometimes people think maybe for religious sisters to be in like difficult situations, they must be there preaching and telling people this is how you should follow God. This is the way of faith and so forth. I think our presence is enough. And I always say, for me, my greatest way of preaching is being in that difficult situation, sharing with them exactly what it means to be there, and showing them that I'm opening my arms to loving them and accepting them as they are. Thank you.
Thank you all for your prophetic witness, just being and being present and accompanying the people you all serve in those situations, wherever you find them. I want to follow up with Sister Ngozi's comment about our brothers priests. Pope Francis has again and again asked us, all of us, to go to the periphery, to accompany those who are poor, to show tenderness, to show compassion. And you know, a year ago, the synodality process was initiated, and I believe all of you have been participating in some way. What would be your comment about that spirit of synodality in helping to shift the way the sisters collaborate with others in their communities, collaborate with the priests, in order to reach out to those in the margins?
Well, you know, because we have always been there and we journey with these people, it was easier for us to be part of that process, even though I will also add that in that process, we were not really given the scope as women religious. We were not really given the full scope to mobilize and to journey with these people. I don't want to go into details about what happened, but that is my own experience. The Pope has said, the Pope Francis, for me, I love him as a person because he's someone I call a grandma's child. He is very down to earth. He likes the practicals, you know, the way things are done, not the theological part that 60% of Catholics don't understand. He's just a grandma's child, that was very practical in his ways. So he has said it, and I'm hoping, my prayer is that at the end of this synod, we will have a church that really, that with its windows and doors wide open, as Pope John the 23rd wanted it before the Second Vatican Council. And now it has trickled down. Our church is still closed. The windows are still closed, not fully opened. And that is what I am praying and wishing, that at the end of this synod, we will have a church that has its windows and doors wider, so that all these things we are talking about, inclusion of women, of those who are the disabled, what do they call them now? The differently challenged and able, you know, a church that includes everyone, not just a church that is very clerical. The bishops and the priests have said so, so all of us know. A church that, I'm not talking about the ordination of women, that is just it. I'm very, very satisfied and contented to remain a nun, you know, because I know where my abilities and capabilities are. I know what I am expected to do for the people who are at the grassroots. But let us have a church where everybody's voice is heard. Inclusion. That is one word that the Pope has always used. An inclusive church, which cuts across all people.
Thank you. Hedwig, what's your take?
Yeah, so for me also, it is my hope that really the opportunity we have for this synodality will yield the desired fruits. because then, as my sister has said, we will have a church that will recognize the gift of everyone, including women religious and any other person, that they can contribute in the growth and in the impact of the church. We are very happy Pope Francis has made a number of appointments for religious women, and that's a great step for us, that the women religious are now having voice. They can have an influence in the Vatican, through the Vatican to us, and the grassroots to everyone, to reach out to humanity. So this is, for me, a very hopeful step that I look forward that all of us will be able to really be recognized, participate in church, and take leadership roles. We don't have to be priests, as she said, but we can have influence, take on roles that we can also participate and influence the growth of the church.
Thank you. Sister Rosemary.
I still want to see the practicality of the synodality process. There are a lot of good things which are being said about synodality, and especially when we talk about inclusion of everybody, and especially women religious. I still am not satisfied with the number of sisters who are appointed, because they have not yet reached that higher position either. We are still also at the periphery. So I would really desire to see a better movement and a better praxis of synodality, not just words. Pope Francis is one who believes even in the process of including women, including their voices and so forth, but how much are we agreeing on that on the ground? That is the real problem. And that's why I would like to see some practical solutions where the women are included, not only just women religious. Let us hear the voices of women. Let us see exactly what they can accomplish. And all of us perhaps might say, we don't want this question of being priests and so forth. But priesthood is a vocation. And even among the men, not all of them are priests anyway. There are some who are not priests. You don't have the vocation, you cannot become a priest. And so even it's the same with us. Even if the Pope says, tomorrow we want you women, you can become priests, some of us will not have the vocation. Maybe I have a vocation for a different thing, I'm not going to desire it. But what we want is that equity and that recognition. Let us work together. For me, that is all about synodality.
Thank you. Josephine.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree with what has been shared so far. But my own take is that the women on the ground, how much has this got to them? I mean, our parishioners, people in the small societies, how much of this knowledge has reached them? And to encourage them even to be interested enough to be part of the discussion. That is where my energy has taken me.
So there is still much that our church needs to do. Yes. That's why I feel you're saying, and there is more engagement and to become an inclusive church. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's switch gears now and go to the fellowship. You have been here now almost 2 weeks, and you're going to be in this process for almost 9 months to a year. So what do you think, from what your experience has been, this fellowship is going to enhance your mission in your work as a Catholic sister? How do you think what you're learning is going to enhance your work as a Catholic sister?
First, I'm very pleased that I got this opportunity to meet so many different sisters and also to share exactly what we do. Because sometimes when you don't meet other people, you can easily be tempted to say the food of my mother is the best. But we are discovering that other sisters are cooking very well. So why can't I follow them? We are here to map, to try to copy from one another and to try to network. And for me, what I'm excited about is that right now we are only 10, but we can form the power of 10 women in Africa and make sure that we influence not only women, but also the men. We want, maybe they will say we are talking a bit too much. We are not talking much. We actually need to begin screaming so that our voices are heard. I'm very pleased to tell you that my name is Nyirumbe, meaning women are not visible. And I thought I was standing for the visibility of girls and women in the society, but I'm actually standing also for myself. I also want my voice to be up. I want to be visible. We want to be visible. Thank you.
Thank you. Josephine?
This fellowship, I don't even know what to say about it. The fact that it brought us 10 women together, that was very good for me. But even more, the interest it has generated in me. I was sharing with some of the sisters that, yes, I manage a school. I had seen signs of domestic violence. I had never taken note of it until I heard from the other sisters and saw where my interest should be going at this time. I thought my school was perfect. It's a fee-paying school. Everybody is well taken care of. But the sharing just drew my attention to what young children are facing. It would have escaped me if I hadn't come on this fellowship. So for me, it has charted a certain path for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Edwig?
Thank you. For me, the fellowship has been really a golden opportunity for me, because it has exposed me to learn, to meet very wonderful facilitators. Some are here, and the input that they have been giving us. Personally, it has shifted my perspective on so many things. Now I'm going back with a very, very strategic on what I want to do, on what I'm doing already, but what now I can do better for the empowerment of women, girls, and humanity at large. So for me, it has been a moment of learning. We have not finished. Today is Tuesday. We are finishing on Friday. But already we've had a lot. And the beauty of, I enjoyed the fellowship because we never sat in class for every day. We had site visits, blending up. You learn and see. See, that sticks in our minds. For me, that was a beautiful approach. And the fact that these facilitators are available to even journey with us away from here, we're able to link with them and accompany us. That's beautiful. And then the networking.
Yeah.
See, we are benchmarking among ourselves. The 10 of us, you see.
Yes.
When we talk, someone's like, okay, that's what you do in Kenya. We can do it in Tanzania. We can do it in Nigeria. So it has been a very great opportunity to learn from one another, to benchmark and network. My network has increased. Before I left Kenya, I didn't have this circle that I now have. And I'm very sure that going back strong to do more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gonzi?
Yeah, for me, it's a blessing, a real blessing for me, because there's something that's been playing out in my head, and I've tried to make connections, and I've not been able to get there. And I know I have reached there. And that is getting a regional, trying to see if we can have a network of Catholic sisters across the continent. Because if we learn and study what is happening in other parts of our continent, it will give us a voice. It's true that everybody is talking about women, empowering the woman and the girl child, but what is obtainable here in the USA will not be the same thing that is acceptable in Africa, because our cultures differ. So my dream has always been to get a group for us to network and have a continental networking of sisters, so that we have a common voice. And like we are talking about going to the Vatican, it will make more sense if we come there as African religious, not as just women religious. So since last year, I've been thinking about what regional networks do we have already? And I didn't know who to reach. But you see, now I've come out. I know that if I need any information from the Kenyan Sisters Network, I can call Hedwig, and say, oh, please, can you help me with this? If I want from Central Africa, I know who to call. And even now, amongst us from the West African coast, we have been saying, oh, we don't have a strong network, which means that that which I have been thinking about, I asked the priest in charge of RECOWA, the regional conference of the Episcopal Conference, do you know if the sisters have one? And I didn't get a feedback. I didn't get an answer. So now, with the Ghanaian sisters here, it will be easier for us to say, okay, you see what is happening there, I see what is happening in Nigeria, then we can connect with our sisters in Liberia and Sierra Leone, and we can start our regional network first before we go to the African network. So for me, it's a blessing, and I've learned a lot. The way the program was designed has been very enriching. You know, you go out and you see what others. The other day we went to Kara, and you know, the whole issue of research. Research is key in whatever you're doing, because if you don't document what you're doing, it dies. But if you're able to carry out research, and then you can have a decision, come to a conclusion, and that conclusion never ends there, because there'll be somebody years later who can say, well, this research started here and stopped here. I can start from where it stopped and then see what will be the way forward. What will be the next way that we can go to advance this issue, which is what we need. And so I must say that the program, the fellowship has been very good. And I'm really very grateful to all those who have designed, who have tried. Gabriella, you are the one whom we have bothered so much with all our questions. And I think at this stage I can say thank you very much for bearing with us. For me in particular, I know how many times I had to write to her, oh, Gabriella, this thing, I don't think I understand it. What do you do? And she was very patient and outgoing, very helpful. So we learn. I have learned a lot about people and the way they do things, the reception. This is not my first time of coming to the US, but I must tell you that my experience here in Georgetown has been wonderful.
Thank you. Now we would like to open to questions that I have not dealt with, so that you have heard from the sisters their own experience and why they are passionate in the work that they do. I open it to the public to ask any questions that you may have.
Hi there. My name is my name is Bakita, and I am a senior in the School of Foreign Service here at Georgetown. And I must say that I'm really inspired to first see so many nuns and so many religious people in the same room, and also by your witness. As you know, like, I'm named Dr. St. Josephine Bakita, and she's been a very much an important influence in my life, and I can see her spirit through you all and also in the work that you are all doing. And so I just wanted to thank you for that. I had two very different questions. Feel free to pick which one you want to answer. First would be more of a personal one, and the second one would be more in terms of being a Catholic, women in the US, or in a very different context to perhaps what the conversation was about. So the first one is what I noticed from all of you women and sisters was the amazing virtues of patience, fortitude, and obedience that you all bring to your work. And I was wondering what part of your upbringing, culture, the dynamics in your communities, your prayer or your practices have allowed you to build those virtues and to continue in that struggle amidst a lot of misunderstanding, amidst a lot of perhaps resistance, anything on that. And then my second question is more through my experiences in the United States. And especially in a culture where empowerment of women is a very different, takes a very different form to how Catholics view the feminine identity and also how we view empowerment in general. And so I was wondering, how do we pursue how do we as Catholics pursue empowerment of women in a culture that has a very different view of what empowerment means? And how do we be open-minded whilst holding on to the doctrines of our faith? So the first one on the first one on virtues, and the second one more in like the context of the U.S. and empowerment. Thank you.
Anyone who would like to respond to the question?
I can.
Yes.
First one. I'd like to respond to the first question, how we get those virtues and how we build those values. As we already shared here, it is the faith that and prayer, which comes with faith, that gives us the energy, the strength, the commitment to go on, even in tough times. Religious life is very interesting. We live a life of prayer, a life of community, where we support each other. We enhance this support through prayer, and also our charisms are very strengthening to us, because I commit myself to religious life, to my order, knowing this is what I freely want to do, and with the power of prayer, with the support that we get from our community. And by God's grace, we are able to build those virtues, and we are open then to the will of God to serve humanity in different activities, in different apostolates, in any part of the world. So this is my response. Maybe anyone can.
Anyone else?
That conviction is also strengthened by what one believes in. What I believe in is that every endeavor, all activities I'm committed to, is going to transform the life of somebody. And that is really what will keep on giving me that patience and making me develop all those values and keep on pushing me on a daily basis. I told you that I started working from 2003, and up to now, I've never thought I've been there going to 20 years. It's because I see the result. I see the life of somebody has been changed. I see the life of a child has been changed. And I can see these people, after being transformed, they are able to transform the society. They are accepted, and they are able to help one another and help their children. For me, that's what really keeps me going on and gives me the values you're asking, patience and whatever.
To add to that, I think the name of God permeates everything we do in our upbringing. Even our local names will have God in it. Secular songs will have God in it. So you are brought up with God in your life, sort of. And then you yourself discover the God you want to live with, the values by which you. Our storytellings will always have the moral of some virtue or the other. So somehow in your upbringing, that is inculcated into you. It becomes a part of you. And then religious life emphasizes it even more.
Okay, I think there's no need adding to what has been said. I want to look at the second part of the second question on empowerment in American culture and the Catholic understanding. You know, it's always difficult and not too good when you bring what your culture, if you're coming from a different culture and you come here, you just have to, first of all, study the environment, study the culture of the people, and see how you can fit into that. What people accept here may not be acceptable in the culture where you're coming from. You know, yesterday I was talking with Gabriela, and I said to her, did you notice the way Blessing would greet me? in Nigerian culture, the part where she comes, we happen to come from the same area. If you're greeting your elder, you kind of genuflect somehow, not like you will do in a church. And she was doing that to me. So I said to her, you see, that is the culture. Now, I would not expect that even Nigerian children born here would have imbibed that culture. So if you come here and think that it is rude, if coming from where I come and somebody is greeting me and the person, a child is standing and looking at me head up like that, and I feel it's wrong, then I am the one making the mistake, because that is not the culture in which that child was brought up. So it will be very good, and it's always very important that we situate our empowerment program. For example, I work with women. I encourage women to know their rights as women. But that does not take your right as a mother. In the African context, the man should help, but you have rights and privileges that you as a mother enjoy. So no matter what happens, it's always good to kind of do that, carry out your empowerment program within the context and the culture and the environment you find. Take what is good and drop what you think is not necessary. I think that is what it should be. Even in our church, we take what is good and we drop what is not necessary and see how we can improve on that which we think is not necessary. And, you know, it's like burning and trying to polish coal to give you diamond or gold. It takes a long process, but you have to do it. So we just sieve out what is important and good for us, and then we drop the others and then move on.
Yvonne, I would add, thank you very much, sisters. What is the vision of life for yourself? And what is the will of God in your life? So I take my life ever since I was born. What is the vision do I have, and how do I work towards that vision? Of course, I was supported my parents, my brothers and sisters, my formators in my education of what I desired to be. But what is the will of God in my life today? Is to listen and listen and listen. And as Ngozi has said about the second question on empowerment, is, you know, it's contextual from a particular culture. They are here in Georgetown spending these 2 weeks, and the faculty will accompany them over the next year. They are not taking American culture and supplanting it to their own context. When Sister Rosemary is educating those young women who is being rehabilitated from war, where they have experienced trauma, psychosocial challenges, emotional challenges, they need to get confidence. But confidence cannot come just by telling them this is what you need to do. It's giving them that opportunity to explore their own talents, to see that there is a way they can contribute to the society as seamstress or as tailors or any other type of work that they can do. If they are capable of supporting themselves, then that means we are beginning to build their confidence and accompanying them psychologically, emotionally. You heard earlier she said, these children that they gave birth when they were in the land of captivity, when they come back home, those children will be reminding them of pain, but they need to be helped to journey within themselves and to journey with each other in order to come out the other side more strong with a greater confidence. So that is empowerment in its own kind. There is the skills development, but there is the person of who they are, rediscovering themselves and being able to see life in a positive way, and that they can contribute in the growth of their own life, but also those of their children and the community in which they are living. Any more questions? Yes, please. There's a mic next to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Jane McAuliffe, a senior fellow at the Berkeley Center. I have to thank all of you for one of the most stimulating panels that I've heard in years. It's been splendid. My question is really for, if I may say, Sister Blessing, and the Nigerian context, you alluded earlier to Christian-Muslim relations, and I know that Americans, when they think of Nigeria, often think of Christian-Muslim tension, and more than tension in Nigeria. Can you say a little bit more about how it works at the grassroots level where you're serving in terms of how Christians and Muslims relate to each other in the kind of work that you're doing?
Thank you very much. I said it at the beginning there. You see, it's politicians who make it sound like there's tension. And then they kind of pick up, you know, those they call the almajiris. That's the name. These are boys that they bring from the street who don't want to. And the whole issue of Boko Haram, which means we don't, Western education is bad. We don't want Western education. Anything, education or civilization is bad, so they don't want it. Those are the ones who are kind of causing all the problems we have in Nigeria. Growing up, I was born in the northern part of Nigeria. It was during the Civil War that my parents took us home to the south. But I was born and brought up. I left the north when I was 12. So, and before then, nobody knew who was a Muslim or a Christian. People intermarried, people lived. If you're going to the market, you can take your children, you're a Christian, and take their children to the Muslim woman to say, I'm going away, please take care of my children. And those children will stay there, you will feed them till their parents come back and come for them. And even now, I use the case of Kogi State. Kogi is a mixed breed. You have maybe 50-50, 40, Muslims and Christians. You come to a family, you find a family of 10, 5 are Muslims, and the other 5 are Christians, and they live together. We've just celebrated the Muslim Eid-al-Fitr, and people were there. People go out. You go out and you eat. Wherever you find food, you tell your Muslim friends, I hope my own ram is coming, or you are bringing me food. You know, at that level, we don't have issues. Both the Muslim women and the Muslim girls and the Christian girls, we interact. The women, we are Catholic nuns, but the women, we have Kogi Women Empowerment Coalition. The president and the vice president, founded by our organization, Catholic women, Catholic religious, you know. But those women, the president and the vice president of this association, founded by women religious, are Muslims. And they work together. We don't have issues. It's just at that level, at that political elite level, that you have all these discriminations. It's true that they have kind of indoctrinated these youths who go out and they're ready to kill. Otherwise, the tension is not as bad as people hear them. It's true that many people have been displaced, but that is also politics. Many have been displaced. Many are refugees in their country. But it is because there are people who are selfish, who are using religion to divide the people. But now we're trying to say, can we ignore the Muslims and just focus on what we want to do to build a better Nigeria? I think that's what we are all looking forward to build a better Nigeria where religion will not divide us. It's not, now it's going beyond religion. Ethnicity is coming into it. So if it's not religion, it's ethnic divide. So we have to be very careful. And some of our people too are afraid. I know a lady who said to me, I cannot come home because of the tension in the place, the trauma. I said, but we live there and we're happy. It's not like we are happy. The tension is not as, you know, social media will always exaggerate. That's what it is. I'm not saying that life is normal, it's like there's nothing to fear about, but it is not the way it is put out on social media. Muslims and Christians, we still live our lives, you know, very well. Nobody bothers. People go to breakfast. Christians join the Muslims to break their fasts. And they eat together, and nobody bothers.
Thank you, sister. Thank you for the question. Any more questions? Yes? Mr. Mike.
Hi, thank you for this wonderful discussion. My name is Sam Wagner, and I'm staff here at Georgetown. Just sort of picking up on the last question, I was curious about, you had mentioned accompaniment earlier, and of course we know this very well through Pope Francis these days. But I'm wondering about the historical practice within your religious orders. Is it something that's fairly recent, that you're simply being present with one another and witnessing to your faith by being present? Is that something that's come upon you more recently through after Vatican II, or is this just something that's deeply ingrained in your religious orders and in your cultures?
Thank you. I can begin talking about it. You hear more about accompaniment in religious life today. I wouldn't think in 1960s it was there even after the Vatican II. But all of us are people who have experiences and different backgrounds. So our way is I walk with you, and then we have a conversation, just like Jesus walked with his disciples towards Emmaus, and they discovered him in the breaking of the bread. You are accompanying, whether it's accompanying those who are entering, or accompanying those who are junior novices, or those who are in religious life, or sisters who may be experiencing different challenges. I would think of this particularly during the time of COVID-19. Many lost their family members abruptly. And you get destabilized, particularly if you didn't have a time to process and say goodbye. So how, you don't want someone to tell you, accept this is God's will. You want someone to be there with you, present with you. Just like Sister Rosemary being in that situation with this young woman, you can never understand the pain they went through. Being in the forest, against your will, getting a child that you even are linked to from family, they are not there to support you, and then this woman has come home with 2 or 3 children that she doesn't know who is the father. The pain this individual is experiencing is so deep that you cannot begin even telling them about God and how God loves them. If truly God loves them, where was he when this was happening? But it's being present with these individuals and let them talk. How was it like? What can I do for you? How can I support you? Until they are at a moment where they can tell their story and begin seeing the positivity of life. Most of them don't trust. And you need to develop trust when you are living in a society. So that's why accompaniment is key and it's important. And you will hear a lot these days within religious circles, whether it's a network we have created, whether it's those who are in the formation programs, or whether it's any type of program we are doing, accompanying an organization. An organization knows itself, knows where it is, knows its mission, and knows where it needs to go. But sometimes they might not know about governance and how to structure governance, how to fundraise, and what the case they're going to put there. So you accompany them from where they are, recognizing they have assets. They are not beginning from blank. They have some assets they are coming with. They have a baggage in their life, but how do you work with them? So I would think it's a recent, unless the sisters have. For me, it is maybe 10, 15 years ago, I did not hear so much about accompaniment. But these days, it's really a term that is applied because we are working together and we are in this together, discovering together from different cultural contexts and experiences. To you, sister.
Just to add a little bit on what Jen has just said, this accompaniment makes us actually uncover something lost. Like the example of these women I work with, they lost their culture. Nobody has worked with them to make them transition from puberty to adulthood. So suddenly they find themselves as mothers. So who is to teach them to be a real mother It is we who are accompanying them, we who are working with them. We have to practically teach them how to be mothers. It is very difficult to say, I teach them how to love, and we cannot teach how to love until you can love. Practically showing them. And that's why it's very important to be there in any situation of anybody. Thank you.
Anyone else who can comment on that?
Yes, maybe I can comment on that also. In our context now, especially in Africa, let me talk about Kenya. Accompaniment is very key because I would like to give an example of girls that maybe you have rescued and taken to school. If you do not make a follow-up, accompany them in that process, you lose them along the way. So we have to make follow-up, move along with them, monitor their progress. If not, you'll find that the parents have maybe taken and hidden them away and probably given them off in marriage because there was that gap that we didn't do our part to follow up and monitor their progress and give the required support. But if we do not do that accompaniment, you will not know their needs that they need as they go on. So it's very key, and probably it's also emanates from our community life as religious, because we support each other a lot, we accompany each other a lot, as Sister Jane said, in both challenging moments and then even happy moments. We're always together, and we share that out in the people we work with.
I think the whole issue of accompanying people really does not stop with young girls, because we're talking about empowering women. If you empower a woman and tell her that, you have your rights, your husband cannot stop you from earning your own money, your husband cannot stop you from sending your daughter to school, because that's what most women do now. They will rather work and pay fees for their girls so that they don't end up like them. But if you don't accompany them, they make mistakes. Because you overdo things. If you don't guide someone whom you are helping, it's like mentoring someone. This is where you can go. This is how you go about it. This is what you will say if your husband beats you or violence, You should be able to say, okay, you know where to report that to. And you begin to help them to open up to you. If you don't accompany them, they will not tell you. If you don't accompany them, they will never tell you, because there's the fear of stigma. When you say, my husband did this and I reported him to the village chief and he was sanctioned or fined, it's a stigma for that woman. But if you begin to accompany them and let them know that, no, it is not, you have to look at it from this point of view, and also get those who are actually responsible, like the traditional rulers, the village chiefs, the women leaders. They have to be educated, and you have to journey with them to know what is right to do at any given point in time. So also the law enforcement agents, they are not left out of this. Because if you don't educate them and work with them, when these cases come to them, they say, oh, what is that? That is a family affair. Take it home. We are not interested in it. They look at it as family affair. So you have to take it back to the family and settle it. And who are you settling with? A husband who has battered you? A husband who has beaten you? So we have to accompany all these groups of people to understand what is right and what should be done at any given point in time.
If I may add just a little, we have a program where we are helping sisters of ministries to become sustainable, because sisters are earning very little and they are not able to plow so much into the work. But for them to sustain their social mission, there is a way you can transform some of the ministries to social enterprises so that they can grow and the income that comes in can be plowed back in the ministry. In doing so, it is one thing to talk about sustainability in the classroom. and tell the sisters what they need to do, the materials they need to prepare, the way they should care for their balance sheet, where they can get collateral materials to get a loan. But then, you know, it's a congregation. You cannot just go to a bank and get a loan. There has to be several paperwork of approval. So we have created a seed funding that the sisters can get a little money so that then they begin building that. But there is a faculty that are accompanying them in that particular journey so that then, let me see the document. Do you have governance rules, governance document in place? Do you have financial documents in place? Do you have a strategic plan in place? Do you have, you know, what is the staffing structure looks like? So after they have done all that and they have put that then together, then now you're gonna apply for these resources we're gonna give you. In a way is to teach them by holding a pen. This is the format for applying, and you have to tell me all the details. So they apply, and they are being accompanied, they get the funding. Once they get the funding, they begin by implementing what were their priorities, where had they seen a weakness in their own organization. Then they will begin applying that. But every month there is a faculty member who is coming and seeing, is everything in order? Is this business towards generating profit? Where are the loopholes? What support do you need? And there is a research that is following through so that then we can be able to say if there is in sort of RCTs, if this and this is done to assist us ministry, it can become a viable and it can be sustainable. So it's that mode of accompaniment transferring from learning to real context of the experiences of their sisters and understanding the ecosystem where that ministry is being implemented. Because it's one thing if I was implementing a ministry in Washington, D.C., it's another if I'm implementing a project in Selma, Alabama. Those are two different contexts. Those who can donate to that particular project in Washington, D.C. may be very different to those who can donate to a project in Selma, Alabama. So the concept of accompaniment is critical. And once they begin and we have a critical mass that have shown that model is working, then many more will be able to engage. That is within a ministerial perspective. But they have shared on a social way, on a spiritual accompaniment, on life accompaniment, you know, through emotional learning or emotional support. Anyone final question before we wrap around? So thank you very much. Now back to the sisters. What would be two things that you would say to conclude this conversation tonight? We begin by you, Sister Hedwig.
Okay, thank you so much, Sister Jane, my colleagues and audience. For me, my parting shot will be that women and girls empowerment, especially in the African context, is a journey that we are still on, and it calls for collaborative effort, network, and I'm very glad that we have the opportunity of the fellowship to empower us, to be able to network, leverage on each other, benchmark, support each other in this noble cause that we are all strategizing ourselves on. And I'm very sure we are going to make an impact because we are somewhere, but we are going to make a very good progress. So this is my parting shot. And I'm very grateful for those who planned the fellowship, for the opportunity. And I know with the support of Hilton and everyone else, we are going to make a positive impact in our communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josephine.
I just want to thank you all very much for coming to listen to us, for those who planned the program, for inviting us, for my fellow awardees who came to the program. The network we have found, the bonding we have made, and I can just see a brighter future for us with us.
Thank you. Kazi.
Yes, for me, I will say thank you all very much. And for those of you that we have encountered during this period, I hope you will still open your doors for us, because there'll be many more, not just us, there will be another batch of women religious coming around. And I hope you have we are living good memories of our time with you. And so the future, like she said, please, you just support us wherever you find us. You've heard our stories. It's not all, we have not come here to give you our tale of woes. We have told you our successes and what we are hoping to do. A better Africa. We all hear stories about Africa. So it's not just in the church, but how would you help us to find or to have a better Africa where people will be happy? Because if we are happy, then you won't have the kind of brain drain that we have all the time. You read that in the newspaper, in the social media, so that we all will be children of the God who created us equal. Whether we are black or brown or white or red, we are all children of the same God. So that will be my take. Thank you all very much for finding time to come and listen to us.
Thank you, Rosemary.
You know, sometimes we think that we don't need to learn. And we have seen it. You have seen, we are not young. We have learned many things, and we thought we knew a lot of things, but we found that we had to learn even how to use the Uber. Not only that, some of us have to learn how to eat salads. And we want to run away sometimes, but we have to eat to survive. So, every one of us has a moment to learn something new. And I want to thank Hilton and all the partners who have supported this initiative and believing that we have something to learn. We learn a lot of things these days, and we still hope we can learn. But not only learning, we need to go back and pass it to our students, to our sisters, and so forth. I was thinking in my heart, if some of us came with our students, they would be laughing and wondering that we do not know many things. They would be surprised because we are there. They tell you, go and do some presentation, your clothes are dancing. We are scared. But we are empowered. Thank you so much for teaching us. Thank you for giving us all the skills. And this is still the beginning. And thanks, Jen, for heading this. Gabriel, thank you so much. And all our lecturers, thank you.
Thank you so very much. I want to thank you, sisters, for opening a window or a door to tell us about your work and your ministries, the challenges you face, the opportunities you see, and the hope you have for today and into the future. We value you, we love you, and we accompany you. Thank you for what you've been able to do under very difficult circumstances, but still standing in faith, love, and hope. Our prayers accompany you. And to the audience, thank you very much for being here tonight. There are so many other places you could have been, but you came here in order to listen to our sisters, sharing their own experiences and learning from them. So thank you for being here this evening. I can't echo enough about the faculty who have spent a lot of time, in different ways, all the panelists, all those who have been discussing with the sisters, working with them and accompanying them to see different ways and different perspectives they can engage in advocacy and giving them a very rich experience. It is my joy, it is my honor to work for the sisters globally, and this being here in Georgetown today, it's really a blessing. I know they've always said, now they will say they have a Jesuit education because they had the opportunity to be here. Yes. So thank you everyone and all those who have contributed to wonderful experience for the sisters when they are here. I don't want to name anyone because all of you know yourselves. And there are more sisters here who are not in this panel today. They will be in many other panels. We didn't talk about health. We didn't talk about agriculture. We didn't talk about so many other issues that the sisters are carrying out in their communities, back in their own countries. We have a reception. You can engage with them and get to learn more about them. God bless you. Thank you.